Today's topic is about using commercial patterns. Now, in theater, we often make our own patterns, but sometimes we can find a store-bought pattern, a modern one, or we might have file cabinets full of patterns we've used in the past or that have been donated that we're going to use. In our beginning level sewing class, we make either a pair of pajama pants or a pair of shorts. I tend to say do the shorts because you have to buy less fabric to do the shorts than to do the full pair of pants. All right, so let's look at a pattern envelope. You will be assigned a pattern envelope by the lab supervisor. All right, what do we find on the front of a pattern, a commercial pattern that is purchased? First will be the brand name of the pattern. You may have heard of Simplicity or McCall's or Butterick. When you go to the store, they will have a Butterick catalog, a New Look catalog, a Simplicity catalog. And you can flip through that catalog until you find a pattern picture of, oh, that's what I want to make. And when you find that pattern picture, it will have a pattern number. And that pattern number appears in the upper right-hand corner of the envelope. You can then go to a series of file drawers. You want to find the file drawers for your brand name, this being New Look, and then scroll through it. They're in numerical order until you find pattern number 6764 in this case. Once you find that, you want to make sure that you're pulling out an envelope that has the size in it that you need. Now, when it says size A, that generally means it has the United States sizes extra small, small, medium, large, and extra large. That is what size A means. But you'll notice right underneath it, it says that's United States sizes extra small to extra large, European sizes extra petite to extra grand. Okay, so it's right there on the front of the pattern. And then we're going to identify which of these do we want to do, and we want to do view B, and that's what I'm going to be talking you through today. You'll notice view A is full length, view B is short, view C is a little bit longer with a tie at the mid-calf area, and view D is long, but it's two different fabrics. It's got a different fabric at the bottom. And that's going to tell us which one do we want to do. We need to find out. So now let's look at the back of the envelope. The back of the envelope has a lot of information on it. First, let's look at the left-hand column. It says there are 5 pieces to this pattern. You'll notice view A and view B. On these little line drawings on the back of the envelope, usually show what the back of the garment will look like. And you'll notice A and B are together and C and D are together. That indicates that A and B use the same pattern piece. One is just shorter than the other, and C and D use the same pattern pieces, just one is shorter than the other. So let's break down what is on the back, starting at the top. What size should we buy? All right, well, we're making a pair of shorts, so we really don't need to know the chest size. It's more important that we know the waist size and the hip size when you're making pants. On this pattern, they decide what size based on the chest measurement and the hip measurement. So let's say that we are making a pair of pants for someone who has a hip measurement of 40 inches. If we're looking at 40 inches, we find that in the column that says medium. So now we know we want to make this pattern in a medium. And you're thinking, well, yes, it's 40 inches, but I don't want the pants to be tight. Well, how do we know how tight these pants are going to turn out to be? On the back, you'll notice at the top, it says what sizes are in it. But at the bottom, it tells you the garment measurements. So what size is that going to be when it's finished? And you'll notice the medium is the middle column, and we said we had a 40-inch hip. If we follow it down and we look at garment B, which is what we're going to be making, the hip measurement is 45. So that gives us 5 inches of ease. So the shorts aren't going to be super tight around the hips. The other thing is it doesn't tell us anything else about B, but if you were making a different one, it tells you how long the pants for A and D are. So from the out seam, the side length, so from the top of the pants down to your ankle, how long do you want them to be? The C length, which is sort of that capri length, how wide the pant is. And you'll notice that the A pants are wider at the hem than the C and D pants are. So that's why they have different patterns. So you also want to look at, oh, it's 45 inches. I want a little less ease in the seat of the pants, or I want it to be even baggier. Maybe I should go up a size and look at that. Okay, there's a close-up of our garment measurements. Let's go back to the back. We are going to make view B, so we are making the shorts. And we need to know things like how much fabric to purchase. And this is where we find that. You'll notice it's broken down by view A, B, and C and D. And we are, of course, looking at B. And the medium is the third column in. So if our fabric is 45 inches wide, and most cottons that you'll find at the store are sold at about 45 inches wide, we would need to purchase 1 3/8 yards of fabric. But if we were purchasing a fabric that was 60 inches wide, we would only need to purchase 1 yard of fabric. So it tells us right there, how much fabric do we need? All right, what else can we find? So we've looked at the top, unisex, 5 sizes in 1. We've seen how much fabric we need to purchase. We've looked at our garment measurements. Now we can see suggested fabrics and requirements. What else do we need to purchase in order to make this pattern? So let's look at that. Suggested fabrics, cotton and cotton blends, a flannel. For our beginning level course, I do not suggest that you work with difficult fabrics, with stretch fabrics, or with slippery fabrics. For now, let's stick with cotton, cotton blends, or if you want to, you could use a flannel, which is a cotton that has a tufting to it. What else do you need in order to make this pattern? Well, you'll need 1 package of 1/2 inch wide twill tape. For view A and B, you'll need 1 1/2 yards of 3/4 inch elastic. And for view C and D, you'll need 1 1/2 yards of 1/2 inch wide elastic. Now, the reason that they put those numbers on there is because that's how much yardage is in a package. So if you bought a package of 3/4 inch wide elastic, it would come in a 1 1/2 yard package. You might not need that much elastic to go around your waist. You might actually be able to share with a friend, but that's how much comes in the package. Now also think about, are you buying white elastic or black elastic? If you're working with a light colored fabric, you probably want to purchase a light colored elastic. If you're working with a dark colored fabric, it probably doesn't matter, the white won't show through, but black definitely shows through when you're working with a light colored fabric. So keep that in mind. Okay, now we're ready to start. We are ready to open our envelope and pull things out. Don't pull out the pattern. The pattern is printed on tissue paper, a lightweight tissue paper. The first thing that you want to pull out of the envelope are the instructions. And there'll be several pages of instructions, and they're printed on both sides. So you'll want to start with page 1, and it'll say 1 of 2 or 1 of 3, or it'll look like a fraction. It'll have 1 slash, and then so you'll know that you're on page 1 of your instructions. and it gives you some really great information. Okay, so how to use your pattern. First, you need to prepare your pattern. Now, I know a lot of you just want to get into it and start cutting and sewing. But if you don't take the time to read the instructions all the way through, you're going to find that you make mistakes. So let's read it all the way through and highlight the things you need to remember. So first, how to lengthen or shorten your pattern. Is it longer than you want it to be, or is it shorter than you want it to be? It'll give you instructions. And you'll notice there are pictures above that are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, those correspond with the instruction number. So number 1, to lengthen, you can look at the picture and you can see that. The next thing that it tells you to do, and you can see the yellow arrow, says to study your pattern markings. It's really important when you lay your pattern down that you make sure your straight of grain, the line that says straight of grain, is parallel to the selvage edge. If you don't, your pants are going to have a twist to them, and that makes your clothing a little uncomfortable. So you want to make sure you know where that is. Do any of your pattern pieces go on the fold of the fabric? You know how you can fold a piece of paper in half and cut out half a heart, and then you open it up and you have a symmetrical heart? You can do the same thing with pattern pieces, and we call that cutting it out on the fold. So there are lots. Notice number 6, seam allowance. Seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch unless otherwise stated. So when you ask the question, where do I sew this? There's your answer right there. The seam allowance on this is 5/8 of an inch. Cutting layouts. It talks about how to read the cutting layouts, which we're going to be looking at here in a minute. We will be using folded fabric, and when you fold your fabric, you place the fabric with the right side on the inside, and you put your pattern on the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, it's important that you notice on number 10 and 11, it tells you what it should look like when your pattern is face up and what it should look like when your pattern is face down. And then you'll get into sewing directions. There is a key to the right side and wrong side. So when you're looking at a picture, are you looking at the fabric on the right side or the wrong side? You need to know which ones those are. If you're not sure, you can go back to the sewing directions. If it tells you to do something like stay stitch and you're like, I don't know what stay stitch means, you can go back to this section because there's essentially a glossary of the terms that they are going to use in the exact sewing directions. So these are the general directions. This is the first thing you'll see on page 1 of the instructions. The next thing you'll see is what pieces are needed. Right? So there's a line drawing of all the different pieces, the fronts and the backs. You'll notice the backs are a little bit smaller. And then to the right, you see what the pattern pieces are. And there are 5 pattern pieces in here. And then there's a list below, but you'll see, well, piece number 1 and piece number 3 are the same thing. They're the pants front. But number 1 are the pants front for view A and B, and number 3 is the pants front for C and D. We're making view B in this example, okay? So in this example, what pattern pieces do we need? We only need pattern pieces 1 and 2. We can completely ignore 3, 4, and 5. Sorry about that. I thought my phone was on silent mode. Okay, so we're only going to cut out 1 and 2, but we're making shorts. Indicated on this picture in a yellow line, when you cut out the actual pattern piece, it will have a line on it that will say, for view B, cut here. Now you have the option of actually cutting that pattern off, and you can keep the lower half of pattern piece number 1 and tape it back on later, Or you can just fold it up and out of the way and not cut it. And then someday if you want to make a full-length pair of pants, you can just unfold that out and now you have your pattern piece. So now you know when you pull out those giant sheets of tissue paper, you're looking for pattern pieces number 1 and number 2. And those are the only ones that you need to cut out. And you already know you're going to cut them out on size medium. So it's super easy to just find that. Once we have our pattern pieces, we need to lay it out on our fabric. So we're going to go to the cutting layout. And it shows you how to lay out view A. We're doing view B. So we immediately go to B. And B, you'll notice, is worn 1 inch below the waist. So if you find your belly button, it's going to be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches below where your belly button is. Oh, that's where the top of the pants are going to be. Now you'll notice that there's a 2A and a 2B. 2A is if you are cutting it out of 44 to 45 inch wide cotton fabric that doesn't have a nap. What does a nap mean? A nap really relates to something like a velvet. If you've ever had a velvet vest or a velvet dress, when you rub your hand down, it's smooth, and when you rub your hand up, it's rough, and it makes it look different colors. The same thing can be applied to a fabric that has a specific design on it. So if your fabric, say, has teacups on it, and the teacups are all facing the same direction, you don't want them going up on your right leg and down on your left leg. You want them going up on both legs. So you'll be working with fabric that has a nap so that the top of the pair of shorts is in the same direction. 2B shows you working with a 58 to 60 inch wide fabric that also has a nap. So it's a specific direction. They will also have instructions if you're working with fabric that does not have a nap, which meaning that maybe it has strawberries on it and the strawberries go in all directions and it doesn't matter what's top and bottom. If you have a fabric that doesn't matter what top and bottom is, then you can turn your pattern different directions for up and down. And it won't matter. You won't be able to have something upside down on one leg and right side up on the other leg. So you want to look at this and go, okay, there's a fold and our selvage edges meet. I call that folding it hot dog style. So it's going to be a long, skinny piece of fabric as opposed to a short, wide piece of fabric. Then we're going to start making it. You'll notice at the top, this is page 3 of 3 pages of instructions. I've circled it there in red. And then there'll be a series of instructions. And so, for example, here, instruction number 10 is to stitch the ends of the elastic together. And you'll notice that for the instruction, there is a matching picture. So you want to find the picture that matches your instruction, and you're ready to start making a pair of shorts that you are actually going to wear when you come to class one day. Now, you don't have to wear it walking in the building. You can go change into it, show us that your shorts fit, and then go change out of your shorts. But it's really important that you show that you can make a garment that can be worn by someone, because that's what we do in theater. We make garments that can be worn. So you won't be working with exactly this pattern, but you will be working with a pattern that is similar to this. And all commercial store-bought patterns in the United States that say easy on them are fairly simple and fairly similar. There are some more complicated patterns. We want to start you off with something that's easy. And there are some patterns that come with very complicated instructions. I don't want you to jump into something that's extremely complicated a little early. So let's start with something that says easy on it and involves cutting out 4 pieces of fabric and sewing those 4 pieces of fabric together. All right, I can't wait to see the shorts that you make.